Greetings and salutations, folks. My name is Nick, and welcome back to Dragon Age 2, where we're still trying to raise the coin for the Deep Roads expedition. That seems to be the central piece of the first act, but then again, I'm kind of putting off the main plot point, which is finding the entrance into the Deep Roads, which would have to go through one of the Grey Wardens, who happens to be in town. I stopped a little bit in the middle of this mission. The magistrate asked me to save his son, who is a killer, a mage controlled by his demons. I killed his son. Or, in this case, Fenris did. So, we'll probably have to deal with the repercussions of those actions at some point. Like now. Also, interestingly enough, I almost skipped the quest that would have gotten Fenris on my team.
You say Fenris?
No.
You know, some guards give people...
Let's see, have I picked up enough stuff to make it worth selling? The answer is probably yes.
The opportunity to lie if it will keep the peace.
You can see what I am. Lie to yourself if you must.
My shipment's late.
Alright, let's sell all of my junk. And this cowl, which I will never need. Okay. So yeah, there's a quest that, bait and switch, where somebody proposes you to find a stolen item. And it felt sketchy, so I'm like, I'm gonna skip that. Which would have been problematic, because I would have missed an entire allied character. Magistrate Vinard, you know that thing you asked me to do? I didn't do it. I did the opposite. Sir, you probably, if you really wanted that message to connect with me, you probably should have said it before walking away slowly. Alright, so we're probably gonna have to deal with the Magister's goons. But that's gonna be a problem for future me. For now, I think, is this the quest I had to do for my companion?
There might be some stragglers before the main group. Nothing we can't handle.
So that's not the main group. This bunch of folk. Why, hello! You know, I probably should raise my health and Bethany's. Our constitution does seem relatively low, at the very least in bar form. What is this pile of bones? Oh, and there's another group over there. But yeah, that seems like the main direction for the plot. Let's see what's... what else is more southern? And also, is there anything here? Another pile of bones. Just skeletons. Like, considering how many people get killed on a regular basis in this city, it's not too big of a surprise. Okay. Felt like I needed to adjust myself. It's not too big of a surprise that there are just random piles of skeleton bones. Oh, the trap. I'll fix that real quick. Excellent. What is this circle of an attack symbol that appears whenever I'm fighting some? I'm gonna have to just let... so it fills up, and then what? Is that like maximum combo efficiency going on? I think it might. Yeah, somebody leveled up, I think. Nobody leveled up. Nobody got anything. Oh, and is this just an alternate path to the thing?
Trap.
Oh.
That should do it. All set.
I disarmed the trap. Fenris leveled up. Fenris could use... Let's see, that's strength and attack, increases fortitude, measures resistance to effect. What about, which one does defense? Like, just defense? Like, strength doesn't seem to do anything for defense. Constitution does not seem to do anything for defense. Cunning. Interesting. And... ooh. Yeah, sure, why not? Do you have any modes? And you... Alright, let us carry on. Ooh, more elf fruit. So in theory, my elf fruit potions will either be cheaper or better. We'll have to stop by an ordering station and find out exactly what's the case. And then we can get rid of this assassin. Let's knock you two out. Yeah, one of the things I mentioned last time was the idea that it doesn't really help you in regards to using abilities, or should I say delaying the use of your abilities. Like, you might as well use abilities as soon as the fight begins. That way, if there are any reinforcements, that increases the chances that your abilities will have repopped by the time those reinforcements show up. Like, if somebody needs health, you might as well just use the healing spell sooner. That way it might be available later on, instead of having to wait, and then suddenly multiple characters need health. And then you've still just got the one healing spell.
We're close to the ambush, Hawk. Be ready.
Oh, alright. So this gives the appearance of multiple paths, but it just kind of circles around back to itself.
There's our targets. For the purpose.
Oh. I'm disappointed that they don't actually get attacked by their own traps. Like, it's not exactly like their traps are smart enough to detect whether they were left by an ally or a foe. Was he vaporized? Oh no, he turned himself to vapor. Alright, let's knock you two out. Did that do anything? That did it. That might have done something to somebody somehow. But I'm waiting for Hawk to level up. So once I hit level 9, I'll be able to upgrade Rush so it actually does damage.
Well equipped for bandits, but dead is dead and the road is clear. Captain Jevon needs to know of this. Back to the barracks for your just reward.
Alright, let's go turn that quest in. Hopefully we'll get paid a decent amount. We still have money to make. But, like, I don't know how much money you'll actually make while also looking for the Grey Warden. Whether that quest also happens to throw some cash your way.
There's nowhere I'd rather be. There's Jevon's office. Wait while I explain our initiative.
I don't know how they do it where you're from, guardswoman, but I decide the patrols, not you and your whims. You may have been put up for lieutenant in your first year, but I'll have no show-offs in my command. Have I made myself clear? Report to your post before I have you and your Ferelden accomplice jailed.
Well, what a charming fellow.
I don't have to like him, but he could at least listen. Bandits are dead. That's all that should matter. It's not the first time he's made me wonder like this. Something is very wrong.
So let's find out whose toes you actually stepped on.
Then we should check the duty roster and see who was supposed to take that route. What have I stepped in this time? Threaten my friends. Not letting that one go, Captain.
Alright, let's see. Who was supposed to take care of those bandits?
Aveline! I owe you for clearing that ambush the other night. Saved me a mess of trouble.
Oh, this person.
Brennan, that route was yours.
It was. Single patrol. I'd have been dead for sure.
A lone guard isn't much of a patrol.
Shouldn't need to be. That route was clear for weeks. First noise out of it was your big fight. The captain reassigned me after he heard what you did, and I passed the satchel to Donnick for his patrol tonight.
The satchel?
Pay and order assignments. Captain has us run deliveries to the outposts during light duty. It's usually just an updated copy of the roster. The satchel for that night was heavy, though. Anyway, thanks again, Aveline. You're a good one.
So the satchel gets heavy the same day we discover an ambush.
You're sure you want to pursue this? This is your superior we're talking about.
If a guard has been put at risk, a good captain would want to know why. And if he's not a good captain, I want to know why.
I bet there's a perfectly reasonable lie that explains why your captain arranged this.
I'd be willing to hear it, but not while a guard may be walking into a trap. Brennan said Donnick. A good man. Donnick. I've got his route. A night walk in Lowtown. Let's go make sure his quiet patrol stays that way.
So, the captain seems like he is paying somebody off.
How much longer do I have to wait?
1 million hours. Alright, let us help out Danik.
Kirkwall nights aren't safe. Always some group of thugs around. Someone will usually pay for their removal, though.
And that's the thing, like, I'm wandering around and I run into giant groups of bandits. Like, the Kirkwall Guard is probably not going to be that much safer.
Guardsman Donick is here somewhere.
Hello, how are you? For some reason, they kept the strong highwaymen towards the front. The weak highwaymen towards the back. Are they really highwaymen if they're not in the highway? If they're just in the city? Ah, there's still more. And then that girl over there just leaning against a post. Like, this is just an ordinary night in Lowtown. Directions to the Sharps base. We've got a new base, and you lot best keep the law away. Directions to the Lowtown sneak below. But don't come unless you've got good news, or you'll get an answer square between the eyes. Ignacio Strand. Oh, so that's actually separate from the quest I'm working on. Okay, so Donick is back this way.
We must be getting close to the ambush.
Why, hello! I wasn't even trying to attack him. There we go. See, these aren't highwaymen. They're just thugs. They're completely different enemies.
Who? Aveline? You're a beautiful sight.
Guardsman.
I mean, I was on patrol and...
You know his name, Aveline.
I took a few down, but there were too many at once. The captain said this route was supposed to be quiet.
The seal of the Viscount. Office details. City accounts.
Valuable to a guild of thieves. A sacrificial delivery with one of our own. Captain Jevon will answer.
Selling out his own? Forget guard, Captain. This man needs to be in government.
Not now, Hawk. Jevon needs to see how
I can't
justice
stop.
works.
Won't stop.
This goes to the office of the Viscount. This will be known. The captain likes his thieves so much. Let's see if they welcome him in prison.
The band's backhouse door? Who names these shields? I mean, I suppose when you have to name tons of shields, like just imagine if your job was to work at a video game company and you had to name, like, how many shields are in this game? How many unique items that are shields are in this game? And you had to name every single one. Do they have backstories? No, okay. Like, that would be even more troublesome if they also had backstories. But there might even be, like, lore and backstories behind the scenes in order to try to make them, like, more unique from each other. Oh, hello. Let's get rid of you. And you. And then you. Alright. Your boss is dead, you might as well give up, everybody. Instead of trying to use your bow and arrow at, like, 2-foot range. You're not Legolas. I feel like that's the most video game aspect of a video game ever, is the word door pointing at a door. Like, there's no real non-video game need for the game to tell me that this is a door, but the video game aspect of it tells me that the door is interactive and I can do something with it, as opposed to a door that I could not interact with. Or that door says Lowtown at it, telling me that it's going to take me out of the building, as opposed to just behave like a door and have no loading area. I did not get much money out of that, but I'm at 37 gold sovereigns. I don't even know where I picked up all that money. But I have it. And that's what counts.
In fact, get rid of any other groups like that, and I'll be at the Hanged Man with some toys as reward. Courtesy of some interested friends.
I never meet anyone normal.
Yeah. If I go to the Hanged Man now, will you give me toys? How are you?
Every piece of equipment in the free marches begins here.
Do you have a name? If I go to the Hanged Man now, are you going to give me the toys that you promised? Can I find you easily enough? Okay. Then this is Varric's room, so no toys there. Or in that room. Interesting art on the wall. The Maleficarum. It has been asked, what are Maleficarum? How shall we know them? I have been as troubled by this question as you. You have come to me for the wisdom of the Maker, but none have seen the Maker's heart save beloved Andraste. And so I have done as all mortals must, and looked to the words of his prophet for answers, and there I found respite from a troubled mind, for she has said to us, magic exists to serve man, and never to rule over him. Therefore I say to you, they who work magic which dominates the minds and hearts of others, they have transgressed the Maker's law. Also, Our Lady said to us, those who bring harm without provocation to the least of his children are hated and accursed by the Maker. And so it is made clear to me, and it should be to us all, that magic which fuels itself by harming others by the letting of blood is hated by the Maker. Those mages who honor the Maker and keep his laws we welcome as our brothers and sisters. Those who reject the laws of the Maker and the words of his prophet are apostate. They shall be cast out and given no place among us. You know, just some light reading. They just keep some light reading in their closet for later on in case they get bored. Hello, it's a friend.
I removed another bunch of lowlifes. Good on you, Sirrah Hawk. We friends are indeed friends of yours. Another time, friend Hawk. Many of them, hopefully.
Alright, got 2 more gold sovereigns, and we're now at 39 gold sovereigns, which means, and also, I guess buy toys in this case means money, which, but still, 39 gold, which means we only have 11 more gold to get. We have 2 quests in this area. 1 quest. 2 quests. I love questing. Oh, it's Flint Company. Thank you for standing, like, right next to the entrance to this zone. That stunned one person. Yeah, let's get rid of you. Let's get rid of you. No, a little bit closer. And I still need to turn in the quest for, Aveline. Wow. Do I have to do anything more for that quest? Or is it just done? Has it moved on with its life? I don't know. Regardless, there's more stuff to do in this area. But once I'm done, I should turn in Aveline's quest, and I should check an alchemist's table to see whether or not my upgraded elf roots, which I've done several times, what that affects. A Dalish hunter. How are you?
Old Shemlin, your kind are not welcome among the Dalish.
What's a Shemlin?
An elven slur for human.
It means you're not one of the people, and you should leave now.
Who are you people?
We are the last of the Elden.
Keep that in mind, Hawk. Elves you see elsewhere, figments of your imagination.
They have given up their identity to live among Shemlin. They're elven no more.
I was given an amulet for someone named Marathari.
How do you know that name?
Wait, this is the one the Keeper spoke of.
Oh yeah, I forgot about this. This is the thing that,
Enter the camp. Keeper Marathari has been waiting for you.
Cause trouble, and you'll meet our blades, stranger.
That, Flemeth had asked me to do.
Marathari? I was told to bring you this amulet.
Andarana Tishan, travelers. Indeed,
Same.
I am Keeper Marathari. Let me look at you. There is a light in your heart, human. Don't let it go out. You will need it. Tell me how this burden fell to you, child.
Your guard said you spoke of me. How did you know I was coming?
I listened. To the wind, to the birds, as the hunters do, to my dreams. I watched the stars. There is great wisdom to be found all around us, if you know how to listen for it. But I was not certain. Nothing is certain.
Are you the leader of these Dalish? Why did the witch tell me to bring this amulet to you?
I am the keeper of this clan. It is my task to guide my people and to ensure the old ways are not forgotten. As for Asha Belinar, I am tied to her, just as you are, by a debt that must be repaid.
Exactly what have I been carrying around? Is it magic?
It is a promise, child, made by one whose word still has weight. And therefore, it has terrible power. There are few things in this world stronger than a promise kept. Remember that.
A dragon fell from the sky, charred some darkspawn, then asked me to bring you this amulet. No big deal.
You are blessed by luck, then. I will pray that Miss Hal watches over your path. The amulet must be taken to an altar at the top of the mountain and given a Dalish rite for the departed. Then, return the amulet to me. Do this and your debt will be repaid.
Are you
Okay.
going to teach me this rite for the departed?
I will send my first with
And this is how I meet one of my next allies? Is this how Meryl shows up?
It is complete. I must ask that you take her with you when you go.
Who is your first? First of what?
Your people would call her my apprentice, or heir. Meryl would have taken my place as keeper. But she has chosen a new path. Please, guide her safely from here.
If that's what you want.
It isn't what I want, but it is what she wants. You'll find Meryl waiting for you on the trail just up the mountain. Dareth Shiral.
I forget which class Meryl is. I want to say she's a bow user, but I could be horribly wrong. The Tale of Ilurin. In the days after the rising of Zazikul, the Dark Ones covered every corner of the island. The Archdemon, or is it Archdemon? The Archdemon drove all the nations of the world before him, Shemlin and Elven alike. In the far north, where the hills wander the plains and the earth is eternally baked beneath the uncaring sun, the lands which the Shemlin call Enderfels, a clan of our people lived, struggling to survive the blight. Ilurin was their keeper, a hunter in his younger days, crafty as any wolf. He led his people always just ahead of the Darkspawn who chased him, but the old hunter knew that even Hala cannot run forever. They must turn and fight or be run down. At the foot of the Murdain, the Darkspawn cornered Ilurin's clan. That night the moon was strangled by clouds, the earth concealed by a dread mist that rose out of nowhere, so that the Elven could not tell up from down. In the confusion, the Darkspawn attacked, but Ilurin had prepared for them. All around the camp, the hunters had strewn dry grass. I combined the words grass and brush to create grash, which is grassy brush. All around the camp, the hunters had strewn dry grass, brush, and brambles. When the sound of rustling footfalls began, Ilurin and the other Harren called upon the old magic. They struck out with lightning, and though the bolts missed the Darkspawn, they hit their target all the same. The sea of kindling lit, and not one of the dark creatures made it through the fire to reach Ilurin's clan. Oh, more reading material on blood writing. After my encounter with the Dalish elves and the road to Navarra, I studied every book on the elves I could find. I sought out legends and myths and history and tried to make sense of it all. But there's only so much one can learn from books. I knew that in order to truly understand the Dalish, I would have to seek them out, a dreadful idea in hindsight. In my defense, I was young and also inebriated when the idea popped into my head. Unfortunately, even after I had regained some measure of sobriety, the idea still held appeal. It proved remarkably resistant to my attempts to ignore it. I gave in after months of that nagging thought at the back of my head and set out to learn about the Dalish firsthand. I trampled through the forest bordering Orlais for weeks before I finally found, or was found by, a Dalish hunter. I stumbled into one of his traps and suddenly was hanging from a tree with a rope about my ankles. So there I was, defenseless, upside down with my robe over my head, my underclothes on display. Descriptions of my predicament might elicit laughter these days, but trust me when I say it was a situation I would not wish on anyone. Thankfully, my ridiculous appearance may have caused my captor to stay his hand. What threat is a silly human with his pants showing? And so he sat, made a small fire, began to skin the deer he had caught. I soon mustered the courage to speak. I tried to assure him that I was not there to harm him, but he laughed at this and replied that if I were there to harm him, I had failed terribly. Eventually, we got to talking, and when I say talking, I mean that I asked him questions and occasionally he would deign to answer. He told me that while some Dalish actively seek out human travelers to rob or frighten, most of his people would rather be left alone. He seemed to believe that punishing the humans for past actions only led to more violence. Violence begets violence. I asked him about the intricate tattoos on his face. He told me they were called Valaslin, blood writing. His were symbols of Andruil the Huntress, one of the most highly revered elven goddesses. He said that the Dalish mark themselves to stand out from humans and from those of their kin who have chosen to live under human rule. He said the Valaslin remind his people that they must never again surrender their beliefs. When he finished skinning the deer, he cut me down. By the time I had righted myself and conquered the dizziness of all the blood rushing out of my head, he was gone. I do not recommend that my readers seek out the Dalish for themselves. I was very lucky to have met the man that I did, and to have walked away from our meeting unscathed. Perhaps the Maker watches over those who seek knowledge with an open heart. I certainly would like to think so. It's a nice sentiment. Interesting that the Dalish would have that book on hand themselves, but let's read about the geography of Thedas. Thedas is bounded to the east by the Amaranthian Ocean, to the west by Teretian Forest and the Hunterhorn Mountains, to the south by the snowy wastes that lie beyond the Orkney Mountains, and to the north by Donark Forest. The word Thedas is Tevinter in origin, originally used to refer to lands that bordered the Imperium. As the Imperium lost its stranglehold on conquered nations, more and more lands became Thedas, until finally people applied the name to the entire continent. The northern part of Thedas is divided amongst the Anderfels, the Tevinter Imperium, Antiva, and Ravain, with the islands held by the Canari just off the coast. Central Thedas consists of the free marches, Navarra and Orlais, with Ferelden to the south. What lies beyond the snowy wastes is a mystery. The freezing temperatures and barren land have kept even the most intrepid cartographers at bay. Similarly, the western reaches of the Anderfels have never been fully explored, even by the Anders themselves. We do not know if the dry steppes are shadowed by mountains, or if they extend all the way to the nameless sea. There must be other lands, continents, or islands, perhaps across the Amaranthian or north of Par Volin, for the Canari arrived in Thedas from somewhere, but beyond that deduction, we know nothing. It is still a world untamed, a world unexplored. But for now, let us go down the wrong path, so that we can see what's there.
This far out. It's better for both sides.
Somebody left this carriage right in front of a cave entrance for some reason. And that carriage right in front of a cave entrance. Who's parking their their carriages right in front of cave entrances? I feel like this is very inconvenient for the intrepid spelunker of this of these lands. All right, there is absolutely nothing in this direction, which is a lot less than I was expecting. So let us go meet Meryl. Damn it. Why do you have stuff?
Make your business here quick.
You've got a copy. You've got a long touch. Elven plate armor, ring.
Dalish crafting is second to none.
Also, I didn't even realize that he had leveled up. How about... yeah, some more dexterity overall. All right, one last book. Our Lathan Part 1. Before the ages were named or numbered, our people were glorious and eternal and never changing. Like the great oak tree, they were constant in their traditions, strong in their roots, and ever reaching for the sky, which is itself an odd statement. You're never changing, but the tree is always growing. The tree itself is constantly changing. They felt no need to rush when life was endless. They worshipped their gods for months at a time. Decisions came after decades of debate, and an introduction could last for years. From time to time, our ancestors would drift into centuries-long slumber, but this was not death, for we know they wandered the fade in dreams. In those ages, our people called all the land Elvenhan, which in the old language means place of our people. And at the center of the world stood the great city of Arlethan, a place of knowledge and debate, where the best of the ancient elves would go to trade knowledge, greet old friends, and settle disputes that had gone on for millennia. But while our ancestors were caught up in the forever cycle of ages, drifting through life at what we today considered an intolerable pace, the world outside the lush forests and ancient trees was changing. The humans first arrived from Par Volin to the north, called Shemlin or Quicklings by the ancients. The humans were pitiful creatures whose lives blinked by in an instant. When they first met the elves, the humans were brash and warlike, quick to anger and quicker to fight with no patience for the unhurried pace of elven diplomacy. But the humans brought worse things than war with them. Our ancestors proved susceptible to human diseases, and for the first time in history, elves died of natural causes. What's more, those elves who spent time bartering and negotiating with humans found themselves aging, tainted by the humans' brash and impatient lives. Many believe that the ancient gods had judged them unworthy of their long lives and cast them down among the Quicklings. Our ancestors came to look upon the humans as parasites, which I understand is similar to the way the humans see our people in the cities. The ancient elves immediately moved to close Elvenan off from the humans, for fear that this quickening effect would crumble the civilization. Does Arlethan even exist then? Or is this just a legend? This sounds like just a legend. Meryl. Are you a mage? Are you actually a mage? You're actually a mage, I think.
Oh, I didn't hear.
No, that's a sword.
You told me about.
Nope, that's the staff.
Anethera. I'm so sorry. I didn't ask your name. Unless... It's not rude to ask a human their name, is it? I'm Meryl, which you probably knew already. I'm rambling, sorry.
We didn't get a proper introduction.
I am... or was, I suppose. The first to keep a Marathari. I've studied the old ways for as long as I can remember. I know things. The law of the Dalish that can help us get to the summit of Sundermort.
Why are you leaving the Dalish for Kirkwall?
I have to. Let's leave it at that for now, alright?
I get the feeling you're in trouble.
It's not like that. Not exactly, anyway. The Keeper and I have disagreements, but it will sort itself out in time.
Did you hear that strange noise?
Oh, I didn't hear anything.
You seem awfully nervous.
I've never met a human
Nervous?
before.
Nervous? What would give you the impression that I'm nervous? I'm not nervous at all.
Not you, personally, of course. I'm sure they don't have any tales about you. Or not scary ones, at least. Not that you're not notable enough to have a story. I'll just shut up now.
My name is Hawk. Glad to make your acquaintance, Meryl.
Thank you. I'm afraid I'm not very experienced with your kind. The Keeper said you came from Ferelden. I spent most of my life there. We only came north a few years ago. Have you been in the Free Marches long? Do you like it here?
Oh, I miss the cold. And the dirt. Kirkwall's not brown enough for me. But hey, no Darkspawn.
Ferelden wasn't that brown. The dirt and muck gave it character. We should go. Your task is for Asher Bellinar. It's not wise to make her wait.
What do we have to do with the amulet?
It's a funeral of sorts. I'll perform it when we get to the mountaintop. Getting there is the tricky part. Our hunters haven't been able to reach the summit. Dark things are about.
Also, note how absolutely none of my allies have any lines of dialogue. It keeps things simple. Like, if you never know which characters are going to bring with you, then just don't assign any dialogue to anybody else.
I take it you've been expecting me to bring this amulet for some time.
And it makes the production of this product a lot faster.
I don't know much more than that. I do know that you have Asher Belenar's amulet, and we must bring it to the altar on the mountaintop. Nothing more.
Do you know the witch who sent me here?
No, not personally. My people tell stories of her, though. You're very lucky. Most people who meet Asher Belenar wind up in little pieces, hanging from the trees.
Also, you and your sister should share the same family name. You introduce yourself as Hawk. She introduces herself as Bethany.
Let's get this over with.
Oh, do I get a 5th person in my crew? At the very least for this mission? Oh, hello. You know, sometimes it just feels like you're getting into fights for the sake of getting into fights. Like, there's no enemies. I suppose it actually made sense that there were all those spiders when I was going after the killer.
All keepers know a bit of old magic. The stories tell us that all Elven once had the gift. But like so many things, it was lost. It's a keeper's job to remember, to restore what we can.
Can't demons possess Dalish mages?
It can happen. And when it does, the clan must hunt and kill their own keeper.
Does the Chantry know about the Dalish mages?
Oh, they know. Keeper Marathari told me that was one of the reasons we never camped too long in one place. They usually won't pursue us if we stay away from the cities and towns and keep moving.
And no one minds having to pick up and move over and over just to protect a few of you?
Why would they mind? Once we've picked over a hunting ground, there's no reason to stay. But my clan is now in more danger, having lost our Hala.
If you go to Kirkwall, you'll be an apostate in a city full of Templars.
I know. But if I don't go to Kirkwall, I'll be alone. A solitary elf is easy prey for anyone. In the city, I can get lost in the crowd.
Please keep turning skeletons into toads for us.
But I never... Right. Not literally. Happy to help. I've done a little fighting before, but it was always alone. I'll try not to hit anyone. On our side, I mean. I'm babbling again. Let's go.
But yeah, it makes sense why there were spiders there. Because he specifically went to a location hoping the creatures there would kill him. But at the same time, like wandering the Wounded Coast, I find like some apostate mages who are allied with thieves and spiders and wolves. Like, is this just a common occurrence where you're just going across a mountain path and corpses are emerging from the ground? If people did a better job burying these corpses, would zombies just not be a problem? All right. Doesn't really seem like a long stretch of road. So at the very least... Oh, hello.
So the Keeper finally found someone to take you from here.
Yes.
Then finish your task quickly, human. We cannot be rid of this one too soon.
I'm sensing a story here.
I have made my choice. And I will save our clan whatever you think.
Sundermount seems very mountainous today, doesn't it? Lots of
rock and hillside.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Let's go. We should hurry.
Like, she did mention that they had lost their Hala. I don't know what that is. Off the top of my head.
A landslide blocked the path. There's a cave that should take us to the other side.
Never mind. The path is actually a lot farther than I expected. It is not a quick trip up a short road. You know, the previous game had the ability to, tactics. There we go. Why would I want you to ever deactivate shield defense? Doesn't she have other abilities? Like target enemy, nearest visible. No. Nah. How can I get haste be used more often? Let's say... Oh, she waits until an ally is down to 25%. Interesting. Let's change that to... health, 50%. That way she acts a little bit faster on that. Then when self-health is down to 25%, use potion. I'll turn that off for now. Let's say Hawk. Being attacked by a melee attack? Use haste. And then self any activate heroic aura. Yeah, turn that off. Okay.
I'm sorry. You're not really seeing the Dalish at their best.
Honestly, I haven't really been seeing the humans at their best either.
Just not today, apparently.
Is there anything I can do to help?
It's kind of you to ask. I'm fine. Even if my people don't appreciate my efforts, I must see this through. Let's go. Asha Belanar isn't known for her patience.
And she's already waited over a year. Ah, spiders, of course. You know, this country, this part of the country has a really big spider problem. In that all the spiders are really big. Like, there needs to be like a whole, like, spider extermination service going on. in order to deal with all of this. Ah, some rubble. With some actually like, pretty looking lights up there. What's actually going on up there? I don't know. The Anderfalls. The Anderfalls are a land of shocking extremes. It is the most desolate place in all the world, for the two blights have left great expanses of the steppes so completely devoid of life that corpses cannot even decay there. No insect or grub will ever reach them. It is a land filled with wonders like the Murdain, with its gigantic white statue of Our Lady carved into its face, her hands outstretched and bearing an eternal flame, or Weishaupt Fortress, with its walls of living rock towering over the desolate plains below. The Anders, too, are people of extremes. The most devout priests and the most deadly soldiers, the poorest nation in the world and the most feared. Ah, silverite. The lustrous white-blue silverite has long been prized by the dwarves for use in jewelry, rune-making, and weaponsmithing, but on the surface it is more commonly used by the apothecaries and healers. Since the metal does not rust, many traditions believe it to be proof against poison. There is a tale passed down among the people of the Anderfalls. A knight returned home after many years of war only to be struck by an adder. His wife immediately bound the wound with a medallion of silverite, pressed against the bite like a poultice. By morning, the poison had left him, and the knight lived to an old age. Is that a true story? Also, belief is a much more dangerous thing than money. Also, why is there so much more to this dungeon? Oh, these are corrupted spiders. They're not like the regular garden variety giant spiders that I'm fighting. Like, there's this whole section. Oh, hello. Did you, did you forget to, join in the fight? Like, there's this whole section on the right side of the map that seems completely unrelated to the, and I think this has a little bit more to do with the fact that, like, a lot of these environments are reused. Shades? What the hell are shades doing here? Is the fade just falling? Shadow Warrior? Who the hell are you?
One enemy at a time.
And so, like, you have this area that is too big for the... Oh, that wall is nothing. I cannot go past that wall at the moment. It's at least blocked off. For now. Probably to be revealed at some future date. Filled with its own treasure trove of secrets.
I can open the way forward. One moment.
Oh my. So she's not just a mage. She is also a blood mage.
You called something here. Are you insane? Yes, it was blood magic, but I know what I'm doing. The spirit helped us, didn't it?
Sure, demons are very helpful. Right up until they take your mind and turn you into a monster.
Well, yes. But that won't happen. I know how to defend myself. Be careful up ahead. Restless things prowl the heights. In the days of Arlathon, the elders came here to sleep. Uthanara, the endless dream they called it. But they don't sleep peacefully anymore.
I'm sure it has nothing to do with the countless blights that have affected the society. Let's keep going. Or should we stop? We've been going for like an hour now. Let's stop for the night. For now, though, got any suggestions for someone to play next? Leave it down in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and have yourselves a good night.